Okay, we have hit peak insanity in Pokemon Sword and Shield. If you've been playing in the Battle Stadium, you already know that the metagame and competitive in Generation 8 is unlike anything we have seen before. And these games are so wacky that a shiny Pokemon actually can give you a competitive advantage. Let's go a bit more into this one. So, Sejun Park brought this one to my attention. This is the guy that's talking about it, and he did an in-depth look at how to efficiently timer stall in Pokemon Sword and Shield. But because of that, using shiny Pokemon can be a solid strategy if you're using a defensive team. Sword and Shield has one of the shortest game timers out there, so the little bit of extra time from the shiny animation actually matters inside of battles. And then this guy, he did time comparisons, he wanted to break it all down, and I mean, look at that. You get 2 seconds from the shiny animation, and when there's a 15-minute battle timer and you're using up all of your time and you're really trying to bring the game down to the last second, over the course of a couple switches, that takes out a significant chunk of the game. We're talking about whole percentages of the game lost just because of a shiny Pokemon. Now, I want to break down how this works. I want to go over his review. But now that we have confirmation, verification, and acceptance by top players that shiny Pokemon give a competitive advantage, it's my time to be vindicated. Because I've always been against cheating on my channel. And one dead giveaway that someone is cheating is when they hack in a full team of shiny Pokemon, and people always blast me. They get upset whenever I point out, like, this guy's likely hacking. They're likely hacking even if they don't have a full team of shiny Pokemon. But no, cheating doesn't give an advantage. Shiny Pokemon don't give an advantage. Well, let me go and introduce you guys to time over death, otherwise known as the TOD tactic. And like I said, this is so extreme, this is so insane, we've never seen anything like it before. Please leave a like if you enjoy the video, and share the insanity with your friends. And this guy has multiple articles about it, but I'm just going to cover the big one because it like shows those video comparisons, and it's actually pretty insane. And even though this is an intentional timer stall strategy, you've probably already been put into time and maybe won or lost because of time in the Battle Stadium Season 2 if you've done any form of battles on it. I mean, there's also a lot of examples of other people getting timer manipulation to work in their favor, so we're going to see how this ends up playing out. Abbreviation for time over death, which refers to a tactic that aims to win decision by intentionally running out of time using the time system, newly introduced in the rules of Series 2. Comprehensive time system means that if the match does not end within the set time, the match is forcibly ended, and at that point, a decision is played. And anyone that's been watching my channel for a good amount of time, they know how much I'm against the timer, because if the time runs out, it doesn't play out the rest of the turn, it just ends the battle and then it's decided right there. And it's very possible to lose a 100% won match without timer because of a very strict timer, or if the opponent starts playing to time when they would otherwise lose the game. It gets very frustrating. This has now become more problematic and more common than ever because of the 15-minute timer that was in the Battle Stadium Season 2, and it became necessary to take into account the tactic called time over death at the construction stage with this rule revision. Now, I was thinking about making a time over death team. I didn't know it was called TOD. I just wanted to make a timer stall team, and I did a video where I showed that Galarian Corsola, you can just lead with it, and if they don't have taunt, you just stall at your opponent, you rest on the last turn, you end at full health, and then the opponent can't do anything about it if you've done any amount of chip damage. So I'm just trying to win with a 100% health versus 99% health Pokemon in a way. But if you actually play to like stall out your opponent, gain any kind of advantage, you can just win through time and you can manipulate it. Also, there were a lot of fears for VGC that this could be something you can do. That you can bring a game down to 3 turns, or at least realistically create a non-counterplay situation where the VGC battle only lasts 8 turns because of the timer. So there are some fears that a time over death strategy in doubles could become prevalent as well, and it's already happened. I mean, when A-Drive went to regionals, I think he tweeted out that he was only able to win his first round because he won through timer stalling. So timer stalling can have a major impact on the game. And then there was also that Worlds video I showed years ago where that one girl got timer stalled by the other guy, and it was a really sad sight to see. So yeah, team construction for this strategy is possible, and now there's a lot of things. So click here for detailed explanation and verification of TOD specifications. So like I said, there were multiple ideas, multiple articles about this, how you win, what ends up breaking down, health percentages and stuff like that. So this is what happens. Like, it's just a detailed explanation about what happens into time, and my Corsola video kind of shows that because I screwed myself over with my time when I got a little too cocky about it, and then there were also some other weird time situations, but I did eventually win. So if anything, it's good to know what can create a timer stalling situation against you and what you need to do to actually get the decision in your favor. But I wanted to go into this breakdown because the ways of earning time are pretty insane. So I never thought about this, but apparently the ribbon does give you a very slight amount of time. Come on, video. Buffer. Yeah, so 0.03 of a second doesn't really sound that insane, but again, you do that with multiple Pokemon, you do that with multiple times, and even if you can get a second or 2 seconds of advantage in some way, it can actually matter in a battle, and we get proof of that later on. So the impact on the actual match is fairly small, but there's no reason to not use it if you are employing a TOD strategy, because you can actually use the ribbons. So we use this ribbon, which has the largest number of characters among ribbons that can be easily attached. I guess if you get like a fancier ribbon, maybe there's one that gives you like an extra 1/100th of a second, and again, that can still matter. Adopting different colors. So this is where it came in with the shiny. When playing out different colors of Pokemon, so shiny Pokemon, you can earn time with the displayed effects. The difference when compared to the normal colors, 2 seconds, and the impact on the match is quite large compared to the ribbon. So even calling this like a large impact in a timer situation by having a shiny Pokemon, and even then, like, if you've lost a game by just a second or just a few seconds because that last turn didn't give you enough, which has happened to hundreds and hundreds of players, if the opponent had a shiny Pokemon they hacked in, that's an advantage through hacking, even though just cheating in a Pokemon, even if it has possible stats, is already a competitive advantage. This just kind of proves it more so in a ridiculous way. And then there's no time difference between Star and Diamond effects. That would have been wild if the different forms of shinies actually bought you different amounts of times, and then have a dish. So now just kind of talking like if you have leftovers, you can just add so much extra time. You gain about 4 seconds with the healing effect. And this is why it can be problematic in doubles or even singles, because 4 seconds like that, just for free, on top of the 2 seconds for shiny, that's already 6 seconds from one turn of your 15 minutes. And then if you subtract, the 6 or 7 minutes you use for your time, you're dropping the battle down significantly. And then it's talking about protection. So here's something we've all seen. We've seen a Pokemon or a Toxapex use a protecting move. Video, even though I like preloaded, it doesn't want to buffer too well. But I mean, this takes an insane amount of time. It takes 14 seconds to play the animation and the blocked attack, and then into the leftovers. That turn just is ridiculous. If you use the full selection time of 45 seconds, it will be about 1 minute in total. So yeah, if you use your time and then protect, that's a minute. That is 1/15 of the battle gone. And even though you don't really need that to be like, you can already experience that. You can already see the timer frustration going on, but having the video comparison just like really makes it crazy. And then sub. I didn't realize that sub was so crazy like this. So, takes the animation, and then there's the animation of the attack, and then there's the animation of the sub breaking and the Pokemon coming back in. So substitute over protect turns it into 19 seconds. So substitute animation adding a few extra seconds into it. I'm also like imagining Dynamax, other long animation moves just intentionally to stall out the game are definitely possible. And then here's a turn breakdown. Look at that. Look at that. You get a 10-turn battle. Protect, sub, protect, sub, protect, sub. So depending on how you do it, and then depending on like your move selection stuff and time remaining, you can just kind of bring it out. And if they make contact with your Baneful Bunker, they get poisoned, and then you like recover up or something, and now they lose. So just trying to earn as much time as possible. Or you score a KO, you go into the Toxapex, and if Toxapex doesn't die, you have the Pokemon advantage, and then you go into the win. Unfortunately, because it is all Korean, and there's a lot. There's a separate article that talks about his team, gives the code, does matchups, talks about building the team, talks about everything that he wants to do. So if you, he put in an insane amount of work. Every matchup is flowcharted, all of experiences are taken down, the turn by turn, how you end up handling this, it's well beyond anything I want to comprehend or would comprehend for myself, but he did it, and it's just one of those things where, like, there's always an Asian player that is going to be well beyond anything you can create. This just kind of proves it. But yeah, so yeah, the effect of Dynamax is about 23 seconds, so Pokemon Dynamaxing takes out any more. Conventional compatibility does not hold. So talking about like compatibility, matchups, and stuff like that, just slower, tankier, stall Pokemon that the opponent has to worry about, backed up and stuff like that. And then Judgment is pretty sweet. So in this video, and this is, okay, this is also why it matters. This is why Shiny matters. This is why a Ribbon matters, because the command time was actually lower than the turn time. This would suggest that's like, okay, with the command time like this and the match only having 4 seconds left, there's still going to be an extra turn left. Nope. In this video, the selection is clearly 0 before the total time. So if you just let it play out on that last time, it kind of like, you know, server lag or some kind of intentional delay, even though there's an extra second in there, the game can just end. So that means, depending on the ribbon, depending on how many switches, depending on the shiny Pokemon, that battle was won exclusively because of those little extra advantages that were gained throughout it. And I mean, if we just look at the status of this battle, Corviknight got burned from a Scald, and it couldn't get through the sub, recover, and baneful bunkers. That's also why you carry the sub, for things that can't get poisoned or don't make contact. And then Toxapex was able to win out the full battle because of this. And there's also like other teams and other Pokemon in composition and the way that they end up playing it out. I guess I was doing it all wrong. I tried to use Corsola, and I tried to do like some Whirlpool Cheese and then like a last second rest or something. But no, even Toxapex, just sit it in there and it works the entire way through. And if the opponent can't like immediately chew through it, then it's going to be a thing. That's also where the rest of the team composition comes in. They throw out a Rotom, you bring in Gastrodon. They can't do anything. Gastrodon gets a little bit of advantage. You also have Regenerator on the Toxapex. You have those shiny animations playing as you're making the switches to do things. So even then, it's like, okay, while this doesn't look like 3/100ths of a second of difference, even though it looks like there wasn't switches in this, it looks like there wasn't any kind of like impact there, but the shininess definitely caused the battle to end prematurely because of it, even though I don't think it mattered because he still had a Baneful Bunker that turn, and he still had like some other things set up. Either way, it can still screw you over, and I bet there's people out there that have lost, even unintentionally. Even if the opponent isn't playing TOD, 15 minutes is such a small timer that these things can just kind of happen. And then you lose a turn because they brought shiny Pokemon. Season 3 rule change does make it 20 minutes though, so TOD is not as crazy, but still. This increases the number of turns that must be made within the allotted time, which forces TOD builders to make and build more difficult constructions. That makes more sense, but there's just some battles where if you're playing this, you're going to win regardless. If they don't have an answer to Toxapex, you just win. It takes 5 minutes longer now, so even though it's good to have a longer timer, you're just wasting people's time even more. So that's a thing. Announcement of support, measurement support tool. So that's interesting. In this game, you cannot see the elapsed time during the team. For this reason, it said that's a natural measure to time with a stopwatch. So yeah, you should also, if you're playing for the strategy, this is something I didn't do. You just personally time how long it's been, because you don't get to see until 3 minutes left in Pokemon Sword and Shield. So yeah. At this time, we explain the practical use of time over death. I think intentional delay is a promising tactic, but I personally consider a way of fighting that requires admitting and confronting it is beyond the rules. And that's the thing. Like, it doesn't really feel legitimate, even though it's using the rules to kind of break the game, and it's in the rules and you don't get punished for it and you still win, but it's not an honest strategy. But it still works. And here's the terrifying thing about it. Season 2, final 7th place. Team build. This guy ended up getting, I believe, 18th. And then someone else got 7th place with a similar construction. 2 of the top 20 teams were intentional timer stall because it was that exploitable in Season 2 Battle Spot, and it still seems possible for Season 3 with the 20-minute timer. But now, if this is where it was for singles, where is it going to go for doubles? Because now that it's nerfed in singles, it takes a little longer, and TOD is being more understood. How long until this becomes a viable strategy to time out in doubles and potentially takes over VGC? This reminds me of like the TCG Whalelord stall that ended up happening a few years ago. If this actually becomes prevalent, it's going to be really interesting. I hope it causes a major rule change. But the reason why we have a 15-minute timer is so that way we can do a best of 3 in Swiss rounds and have the competition go at a meaningful pace. I don't know. I don't know like what's going to happen with this one. I did want to make it kind of like my primary battle style for Season 2 just out of protest, but obviously there's a lot more work that goes into it than I thought. I don't cheat my teams, so I'm going to be at a disadvantage if I attempt it by not having shiny Pokemon. And even then, like, just cheating in general gives you a massive advantage by being able to cycle out different strategies, different Pokemon, gain experience in a faster amount of time with Pokemon you would have not otherwise had. But it's something that's on the table, and it's something that's going to kind of keep on evolving and keep on growing, which makes it really, really crazy. And even though it's a scummy tactic, and even though it's ruining the game, you can only respect the amount of work and creativity that went on here. And I think it just kind of shows, like, this is only Season 2, guys. Pokemon Sword and Shield hasn't even been out for 3 months. It's only going to get crazier with the Isle of Armor expansion. It's only going to be crazier with Pokemon Home and hidden abilities and stuff like that. And as more and more people, like, get into the game and understand it, we could be looking at some pretty crazy stuff. Now, at the same time, there is some pushback, just in the form of rental teams, so everyone just, like, cheating mass amounts of rental teams and effectively distributing hatch Pokemon instantly to a lot of people. So the meta is stagnating while also shifting way too rapidly for, like, any legitimate player to keep up with. It's very strange, and I think this is just a byproduct of the strangeness that we've seen, but I think it kind of shows, like, yo, this is creativity I'd love to see inside of Pokemon. At the same time, if it kind of protests like these poor decisions that we're seeing on the competitive elements, then yeah, it could get really fancy. So if you guys enjoy the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.